Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. I've done already two shows today, make it three in a row, but we had to do it. We didn't do it yesterday because Richard was literally biting through every fingernail he had, throwing up, punching holes in walls as his 49ers was able to make an incredible comeback and defeat the Lions. And now we got a Chiefs versus 49ers Super Bowl rematch of the 2019 Super Bowl. We're going to save all the football talk. If you're looking for that today, you're not getting it. That's going to be on Wednesday. Bobby Z of the Press Box here, one of the legendary sports talk radio hosts in this area for 5 years. He's a Packers fan. He knows everything about sports, and he is going to be coming on to talk NFL playoffs. And we're going to have Jonathan Shusky, a.k.a. Buckets, on to talk college basketball. So that's on Wednesday. Don't want to miss out on that. All right, moving forward, though, today we're going to drop our high school basketball ratings. We're also going to talk what happened this past week, who won, who lost, who struggled, where we're going to be at in this upcoming week. So excited about that. But let's talk about what we did last week. Richard had a lot of fun. We had a doubleheader on Friday. Carver, both boys and girls, beat Columbus, and Hardaway girls dominate Cairo, and the boys come up short. Glenwood, Lee Scott boys won, Glenwood girls won. And then on Tuesday, we had Brookstone, Pacelli girls and boys both won that. So excited for this upcoming week as we just keep trucking along as region tournaments about to start. Wood and from other teams in the next few weeks. And we got playoffs right after that. Excited. Richard, how are you?
I'm doing great, Thrift. I cannot believe that high school basketball regular season is almost over. In fact, it is over in the AISA. It's about to wrap up in Alabama. We've got maybe one solid week left of high school basketball in Georgia before we get into region tournament play, and then we about a month away from the state playoffs, the championships in the GHSA. I can't believe, but from one sport to another, we've got high school basketball wrapped up, and it's been a lot of fun, Thrift. I mean, you know that I love basketball as much as you do, and these games have really been exciting, and we've had a lot of great players.
They have, and we've enjoyed every minute. And by the way, CBCC boys and girls, they played last Thursday. The girls won. The boys, though, lost, Richard. So they're dropping in the standings, and we want them to get back on track. They play Coastal North on Thursday. It's a doubleheader. Richard, you'll do the girls, I'll do the boys this Thursday. Can't wait for that. How about the CSU upsetting number one in the Peach Belt Conference, Lander on the girls' side, the boys' side, Richard?
Yeah, the boys fell to Lander. Lander is one of the top teams in the Peach Belt Conference in both the girls. In the country, exactly. But what a great win. I was there at the Lumpkin Center along with WTVM's Tony Reese. I know Jack Patterson, he got highlights later. I was only there for the first half. Just seeing what Coach Hauser has, like, really, it was Latiyah Reeves and Alana Rawls who was doing most of the scoring. The veteran point guard, Amber Abuzbe, and then the former Shaw Lady Raider, Bree Snipes, one of the top players on the Lady Cougars, which right now, they're looking pretty good, and I'm looking forward to seeing. Now they're going to be on the road going to Bluffton, South Carolina this Wednesday, but they should be back at the Lumpkin Center, I want to say, in about a couple of weeks where they have another game. But it was a lot of fun going there, and a familiar voice. I was like, oh, I recognize that voice. The PA announcer for the Pacelli Brookstone game was PA announcing for Columbus State, and he did a fantastic job. Absolutely. I was like, I knew I recognized that voice from somewhere. He did a fantastic job. And then getting to hear Scott Miller. I mean, I was observing Scott Miller. I was seeing, he was a one-man show for the girls' game. He usually has a color guy come in to call the boys' game. But he had like 3 computers up, and he had his notebook. And it's always great to just observe one of the best to ever do it. And Scott does an incredible job calling the girls and the boys, and just an incredible atmosphere at the Lumpkin Center.
I know you had a lot of fun being there. I wish you would have put up some videos on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. We're going to eventually put those up here for Columbus State, but we've been so in the grind and in the trenches with all the high school basketball happening around this area. And then middle school basketball next week, Richard, starts up as you got the semifinals on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then the championship, or semifinals Wednesday, Thursday, the championship on Saturday. That is next week. And then also Glenwood could be playing a state championship. We got the end of regular season for most of the Georgia schools, area tournament starting next week for the Central Red Devils and the Russell County Warriors. So can't wait to dive into all of that. But first, let's talk about what's happening now so we can update everyone what's happening in the standings. Richard, what's going on around the area? Who are the top teams? We on the Sports Visions radio show today with me and DJ Jones, we had on Sam Mitchell, former NBA player, also NBA coach, and now NBA analyst. He's like, I want to watch some of these teams. Who are the best right now? And I said, right now, the two best teams in our area are Central and Pacelli, and it's really everybody else after that. They're in a class of their own, and they are also Pacelli's league, the favorite to win it all. Central, one of the top three teams to win it all. But let's throw up our ranking. Let's do the girls first, Richard, and then we'll go from there. We'll start from 10 going down. How about the Calvary Christian Knights, 11-8? I know they lost to Creekside, and then they had another heartbreaker to Southland. But I like Calvary a lot. I was talking with their assistant coach, Grant Smithwick. They, Konos, and Skipstone are the three teams that have a chance to play in the state championship against the powerhouse Creekside. I think Calvary has just as good a chance as anyone. Michaela Reed is really coming into her own as their go-to scorer. She's putting up over 20 a game, only an eighth grader. And Coach Norton and Coach Smith would do such a good job putting their girls in the right position to win games. They do play Southland again. They've already lost to them in the Border Wars. They lost to them at Southland. They play again this Saturday. Richard, we'll be at that game. You'll be calling it. Hopefully they can finally upend Southland after two crushing losses, but they come in, the Calvary Christian Knights, at number 10.
Yeah, Calvary got a big win on the road against Konos Academy. So you look at right now, they're 3-1 in the gaps. If they can find a way to beat Creekside on Thursday, that will put them in first place. Senior night is going to be Southland Academy this Saturday. We'll be there. They'll honor seniors like Lily Miller and Emily Karstoffen. Of course, Michaela Reed. She's only an eighth grader. She's going to have a long career at Calvary, one of the top scorers in the Chattahoochee Valley. I think this Calvary Christian team can at least get to the championship in the gaps, where they're probably going to end up facing Creekside. Creekside is the defending gaps champions, also in the boys' side as well. It's going to be a very tough opponent. Creekside is just one of the top teams in the gaps.
All right, moving on from them to now number 9, the Shaw Lady Raiders, who got a win against Bainbridge, the boys and the girls. Is that correct, Richard?
That is correct. The boys, they won in double overtime. The girls, Quishai Walcott came to the line, knocked down 2 foul shots when it was tied. It was Tiara Tucker that got a big bucket. They were trading buckets back and forth. A huge win for the Shaw Lady Raiders.
They go to now 2-3 in the region, and Bainbridge, it goes to 3-3. Westover 3-2, and then of course Hardaway 5-0. Cairo's 0-5. So the Shaw Lady Raiders will make it, but hopefully they can get a 3 seed, maybe heck even a 2.
I think so too.
Their upcoming schedule, looking right now, they did beat Bainbridge, like you said, Richard, by 2 points. They play at Hardaway. That's going to be a tough one this Friday. Then Cairo. That will make them 2-4, then 3-4. And if they beat Westover and go to 4-4, maybe Westover gets upset by Bainbridge. Who knows? Hardaway also got to play at Westover, so Hardaway beats Westover. That's 2 losses. Shaw can move up maybe even to the number 2 seed. So 3 big games for them for Coach Crowell. But the Lady Raiders are looking like to make another playoff run. They come in at number 9. Number 8, the Smith Station Panthers. Ever since being undefeated, they've been on a little bit of a tailspin. They've also played a tougher schedule in the latter part of their season, but they come in at 13-4. They've been a nice surprise this season, Richard.
They have, but the 4 losses, 2 to Auburn, 2 to Central. We expected that. I mean, Auburn and Central are the class act in this region. They did pick up wins against Opelika. They get ready for the region tournament, which there's only 4 teams. It's area tournament, rather, where there is 4 teams. And if they do well, they might be able to sneak into the playoffs. But it's looking like it's going to be a collision course between Central and Auburn like it was for the championship last year.
All right, moving on. Number 7 is the Spencer Green Waves, who, if you look at their region right now, they are the number 2 team in the region, Richard.
Yeah, Central Macon is
the number 1, but Coach Tench's team, they're competitive. We know about the Burke sisters. They come in 8-1. Their only loss is to that Central team, who's 10-0. So Spencer is on the chopping block to be a number 2 seed. That means they are going to host the first round of the playoffs, and who knows what could happen. Like I said, in 2A, anything's up for grabs. And when you got playmakers like Alexandria Burke, like Naomi Burke, and then Malaysia Dials, who can guard almost 1 through 5 and can hit shots from the outside, I like Spencer a lot. And their upcoming schedule, they're 14-6 on the season. As I said, 8-1 in Region 2. They play Southwest at Southwest. They're number 3 seed. So that'll be a big one if they win that one. Then Northeast, then Southwest at home. Then they go on the road to Central. They did lose to Central at home by 20, so that could be a tough task on the road. But even if they have 2 region losses, they finish as a number 2 seed. That's going to put them in the upward trajectory and at least host 1 playoff round. They come in at number 7.
Yeah, they got a big win over a region opponent, the Jordan Red Jackets, at Jordan on Saturday, and the offense flows through the Burke sisters. Both are averaging 13 points a game. But you talked about Malaysia Dias, just a good rebounder, just a post player. I like what Coach Tench has here. And remember, they went to the second round of the playoffs last year, getting an upset in the first round on the road. And if they can get the number 2 seed, especially when we get to the region tournament play, they'll be able to host a playoff game in the first round.
Now, these next couple of teams, all the way up to number 3. So 4, 5, and 6, I think they're interchangeable. We did leave up the rankings up there, but Central's been on a tear as of late. They're 16-9. They got 1 more game against Russell County to go to 17-9, and they're a favorite to win their area. Jabria Lindsay. I mean, what do we not said about her other than her being the best player in this area? And there is no debate about that. I will go to bat with anybody, Richard, on how dominant that she has been this year. And again, remember that she is only a sophomore, which is the crazy part about it, that she still has 2 more years of dominant basketball. But when you saw the legendary coach that stepped down from Central, that now it's off the top of my head and I cannot.
Carolyn Walker.
Yeah, Carolyn Wright.
Right. Okay.
Yes. So we both butchered it, but at least you got the first name right. I knew I was going to get the second name.
I knew it started with a W.
But when she retired, everyone thought that maybe this would go downhill. People would transfer. Rogetta Williams has done an excellent job.
She has.
As the person that has stepped in, and I've been really impressed to see how she's handled this team that has. I know you see 9 losses, and you automatically think that this team is. Well, they're mediocre. How can you say that they're dominant? How can you say they're a good team? How can you say that they could win it all this year? Because of who they've lost to and who they have on their team. I really like this Central team a lot.
They've played a tough schedule. Their only loss in region play was to Auburn. But Jabria Lindsay, averaging 28.2 points a game. But that's tops in the entire. That's got to be like one of the top scoring averages in the country. I mean, I can't imagine somebody at the girls level with Jabria Lindsay. 28.2 points a game.
51% from the field, 12.2 rebounds, 3.4 assists.
That's incredible stats.
And this is 7A basketball. And I'm going to say it one more time. There is no doubt, there is no question, and there is no debate. You can debate with your mama. You can debate with someone else. You ain't debating with me. Blocks, almost a block a game. 4 steals a game. 3.4 assists. 51% from the field. 3-point average. I'm trying to pull that up real quick, Richard. I know I saw it. 3-point percentage. She doesn't shoot a lot of threes. She does. She takes about 10 threes a game, and she makes 3 of them. She's 30% from 3. But the field goal percentage for 2 is 53, makes it 51 overall. Just dominance from her. Obviously, they don't have any other score like her. I mean, Gabrielle Walker and Latasia Deloney, they both are putting up 8.5 and 7.4. But when you got someone like Lindsay who's just – she can take over a game, and you saw it last year – with Jacoby Hill, you can get one player that gets really hot and you can ride them all the way to a state championship run, especially if you play good defense, and they do at Central. Like you said, 5-1, tied with Auburn. They have to play Russell County, and then it's area tournament time. But I can't wait to see the Central Red Devils. I honestly probably could have them a little bit higher. The reason I don't, though, because they are not the favorite in 7A to win it all. They're around 4 or 5. And because of that, that's why we have them at number 6. All right, number 5, though, is the St. Anne Pacelli Vikings. You probably could put them up higher. And if girls basketball wasn't as good as it is right now, you could see them maybe even being number 1, Richard. They're playing lights out. They just beat an undefeated Heritage team. They're 12-4 in the season. We all know about Michaela Hosley. She's been great, but the X factor has been Tamaya Ransom. Thokamora Jones, she's been great. Zanaya Crouch. Grace Smith, who's only an 8th grader, who's putting up double digits in scoring. Bryant Thomas's team is starting to click on all cylinders, and they're clicking at the right time, right before region tournament and area play. They are one of the favorites in GIAA, and honestly, in my opinion, I think they are the favorite. But they are coming in at number 5.
And I also think that with Ivana Thomas coming back from that injury, she's only played 7 games.
Yeah.
When we saw her against Brookstone, she was dominant as far as the passing, the length, just the dribbling, the court vision. I mean, that's making a huge difference. And, coming back from that injury, and you add her into the mix, look out.
Yeah, I've talked with my good friend Jeremy Hayes, who live streaming expert, one of the most talented guys in our business. He's really big in the girls program there, and because he was a flag football coach, he coached most of the girls. But the way they played as of recently, I mean, Richard, to go to Heritage and beat an undefeated Heritage team by 8, only hold them to 29 points, dominate Brookstone, dominate Douglas County, beat Westfield, beat Sandy Creek, beat Loganville Christian, lost to 7A Newton, beat Upson Lee, lost to a really good Northgate, beat Lithia Springs, beat Troop, beat Hiram, 6A, lost to Wheeler by 1, and lost to Harris County, who's one of the top teams in 5A. They got at Strong Rock, they got Heritage, Greater Atlanta Christian, Westfield, Brookstone, and then Strong Rock to end the season. I like what Coach Thomas is doing, and they may be coming home with a state championship ring. For number 5 goes to number 4, the favorite to win it all in the AISA. And the reason I have them ahead of Glenwood, ahead of Pacelli, and why they're number 4, is because they're so far ahead of everybody else in that league. And I know that's not the fault of Pacelli and Central. They do play in tougher leagues, albeit the reason why Glenwood's moving on due to the AHSAA. But they are going to be 20 points favorite over everybody they play. I looked at the league, Richard. Lee Scott could be the team they play in the state championship, and they've dominated them both times they played them by 20 points. It wasn't even close. Takayla Davis, who is a double-double monster. She got her 1,000th rebound. She's going to be great at the next level. Haley Palmore, the freshman point guard, is like a John Stockton, gets them into their offense, and the most improved player in the city. Anna Grace Griggs, she's just been a double-double machine on top of Davis. It's like the Twin Towers back when David Robinson and Tim Duncan played. Glenwood comes in at number 4, and they're looking like Coach Purdue is going to win another state championship with those Lady Gators.
We got to see 2 incredible milestones within the first 2 minutes of that Glenwood-Lee Scott game, where Anna Grace Griggs got her 1,000th career point and TK Davis got her 1,000th career rebound. I mean, they have just been on a tear. The win streak, they have not lost a game since that tournament back in Knoxville, Tennessee on December the 20th when they lost to Carnes. Since then, they have just not only beat teams, but the margin of victory. I mean, they had an 8-point win over Southland Academy. That was looking like the closest margin of victory. They take on Macon East on Wednesday in the first round of the region tournament. This was a team that they beat on the road 71-12. Complete dominance. I think that Lee Scott and Springwood are playing, and so I think that Lee Scott wins that, and we have probably for the fourth time this year, we're probably going to have Glenwood and Lee Scott for the region championship, and then possibly for a fifth time if they end up meeting in the AISA playoffs. So
for a state championship.
For a state championship.
That's
incredible.
Top three teams. They're really good, but Hardaway and Carver both beat Harris County. That's why Harris County is number 3. Their only 2 losses are those 2 teams above them. They have kicked everyone else's butt since then. Stephanie Ramsey Dunn with Brooke Bass and Janai Broom. Not Janai Broom. Janai Broom is the center for the Auburn Tigers. You want to correct me, Richard? I was waiting on you to correct me.
No, you're right. It is Janai Broom. You were right. Janai Broom.
Broom. So Janai, I said Janai, and then we got Janaya. So we got Janaya Broom, and then we got Janai.
And then Alana Coulter. You know that game a couple weeks ago, Rick Beach from Kutsu Sports and I live streamed that game, Shaw Harris County on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. And, it was a great matchup between Tiara Tucker for Shaw going up against Brooke Bass, but Janaya Broom and Alana Coulter. Well, those 3 players all scored more than 20 points.
Yeah.
I mean,
they've been dominant, Richard.
Yeah, absolutely dominant.
And they're 4-0 in their region, 17-2. Looking at their upcoming schedule, they play McIntosh, put that down as a win. That'll put them at 18-2. Northgate, put that down as a win. Manchester could be tough, then Drew, then at Northside. I think all 5 of those are wins. That'll put them at 22-2, undefeated in region play. And I think, again, a favorite to make it to a Final Four. And, heck, Coach Ramsey Dunn, she probably could even win a state championship this year. Harris County at number 3. Number 2, the Carver Lady Tigers, who ever since losing a few weeks ago, Richard, they have been dominating region opponents. They're undefeated in region play, 14-6 again on the season, 6-0 in region play. They beat Monroe, who's 5-1. That's the team that had the freshman caliber player that you're definitely going to see her at the next level. She's another Jabria Lindsay. But they got Chris County, Thomasville, Monroe, and Daughtery. Thomasville and Monroe both on the road. I think they win all 4 of those games. They'll go to 18-6, stay undefeated in region play, dominate that, and be, as Sandy Spill, we had Kyle Sandy on the Sports Visions radio show with his rankings. Carver's ranked in the top 4. They're one of the favorites to win it all in 3A, and they're the number 2 team in our rankings.
Yeah, Coach Anson Hunley, who has won multiple championships, got a great team with depth, a senior-led team with Jasmine Thornton and Aubrey Wilkins, but you also have KK Cooper, Cam Thomas, the juniors, and then it really starts and finishes with Chubb Williams. She is the point guard, the floor general. She gets about 7-8 steals a game, but she also has great court vision, and she was actually raining threes, which was very shocking. She had 10 points in that first half against Columbus. And it was very out of her character to be shooting, but Columbus left her open. And so if she's going to be open, she's going to be taking shots. But first of all, I do want to say what Coach Adams is doing at Columbus is incredible. They improved their win total by 2. And I think that Alana Gilbert is a very good point guard. She's only a junior. She's going to do well. Jayla Lockhart. I mean, they got a young team, and I think Coach Adams is got Columbus in the right track.
Number 1, the Hardaway Lady Hawks, the best starting 5. They don't have the best player because that's Jabria Lindsay, but they had the best starting 5, hands down, out of anybody else. My guy JT Todd, who was at the game, he kept yelling, the best, because I kept saying they have one of the best. He says, no, they have the best, and I'm in agreement. When you got someone like Adasia Burrell, who is an all-around point guard. I know her number's a little bit down from last year, but she also was coming back from injury. You're talking about anyone that can shoot. She can score when she needs to, but she loves to facilitate. And when you have as many options as she does around her, she doesn't feel like she needs to score, but she can when she needs to. But when you got people like A.K. Shelton, who is blocking 2.5 blocks a game, 6.2 rebounds a game, 13.3 points a game. Michaela Johnson, we know about her three-point shooting. She's putting up 18 points a game, close to 5 rebounds, getting close to 3 steals. A.K. Shelton also has 3 steals a game on top of the 2.5 blocks. So when Janai Hardy and Lanaya Meeks and then Burrell, that 5 right there, I put up against anyone in the state. They are the favorite to win it all in 4A. They're not going to lose another game until they get to that Final Four like they did last year. The Hardaway Lady Hawks, they have been number 1 since the beginning of our ratings, and they're going to be number 1 at the end of our ratings. They are the best team in our area, and there's no doubt about it in my opinion. And let me say this right now: Kelly Ellison has got a dynasty in the making, and I am excited. I'm glad we're here for it. We know it's going to at least be one more year because you got Burrell, Hardy, Shelton, and Johnson. 4 of their 5 leading scorers all return back from next year. They got Rihanna Boynton, who's a really good freshman who comes off the bench. She's coming back next year. Mundy's coming back. Jayla Todd will come back from injury. They're going to still be just as good in the years to come.
Yeah, you said it best, Thrift, that this is a dynasty. They made it to the Final Four last year. They are the favorites to win the championship this year. If they run through the region, they'll get a number 1 seed. They'll get at least 2 home playoff games, and we got to hope that the GHSA coin flip goes in their favor for the quarterfinals. Remember, the Final Four is at Fort Valley, so it's going to be on a neutral site. I mean, they lost a very close game last year to the eventual champion Griffin Bears. You got to think that Griffin is one of the favorites. Spalding is always tough. I mean, there are some roadblocks out there, but I don't think that Hardaway has to worry about that until they get to the Final Four. They are a very dangerous team, and I think the path to the Final Four is a lot easier, especially if they win their region and they get that overall number 1 seed and they're hosting 2 playoff games.
All right, from the girls, let's pull up the boys now. Let's move on from the boys. And we'll start at number 10, the Brookstone Cougars. Carl Ivy steps in after Quintavious Allen, and they lose Jordan Daniels, who, remember last year, hit the game winner to send them to the Elite 8. And everyone thought that Brookstone's team was left for dead. Well, I see a bunch of guys on that program that believe in his vision, establishing a culture. They buy into playing defense. I've been impressed. They're 4-2 in the region. They beat teams like Strong Rock, who only got a couple losses. I know they lost to Pacelli, beat St. Mary's. They beat Westfield. They're 13-8. They're going to beat St. Mary's again, may go to 14-8. They'll beat Strong Rock to 15-8. They may even upset Heritage at home, 16-8, and then they take on Pacelli to end the season. They 16-9. That would put them 4-5-2, 6-2, 7-2, 7-3 in region play. They're looking like they could play in the Elite 8 again this year, Richard, and maybe even make a Final Four if they upset some teams. The Brookstone Cougars coming in at number 10. I've been so impressed with Carl Ivy, and their leading scorer this year has been Thomas Henderson. Chapman Dyke's been great. Throw in there last year's all-region player, Chris Vickerson. He's also only played 10 games. He's had to overcome injury. He's a football player, focusing on that, but he does play basketball, and he's coming to his own as of recently. But number 10 is Brookstone.
A good pick. The Brookstone Cougars have a very good record. I mean, you think about other players like Fuller Jones. I was very impressed with Grant Miley. He was shooting some threes. And the one thing about that Brookstone-Pacelli game that we called on Georgia Alabama Sports Live, Pacelli was dominating the first half. Brookstone went on that run to start the second half, and they made it not as big of a blowout. They actually cut it to it. I think they were down by as many as 13, Thrift, but they really cut it. Or correct me if I'm wrong. I think they got it to 20, but they were very close after going on that run in the second half. I was very impressed with Brookstone.
The next four, I know you don't see any rankings, and the reason you don't see any rankings right now is because these are all teams that are interchangeable. Hardaway's beat Columbus and lost to them. They beat Russell County. Russell County's got a bunch of great wins. You see the record 16-9. Shaw's beat Hardaway, Columbus, and that Hardaway's also beat Shaw. So these are interchangeable. I think Hardaway 13-9 had a tough loss against Cairo. So they're looking at least be anywhere but 4 seed. So if they beat Shaw this Friday, beat a Bainbridge team at home, I think Hardaway could, and they beat Westover, they could maybe get the number 2 seed if Westover loses and Cairo go number 1. But Hardaway goes to 3. Either way, they're going to make the playoffs this year. I like Benton, I like Mims, and I like what Coach Mills has got. They just had at the end of games just come down to the wire, and they just not able to overcome it. Columbus High played Carver all the way down to the end. You were there for that, Richard. Carl Ivy Senior's team, they're going to be the number 4 seed, maybe even 3 in their thing. It's going to be tough because you got Monroe, Daugherty, and Carver. Probably not going to be 3, probably going to be 4. Either way, making the playoffs, that's a huge feat for Carl Ivy Sr. and his program. Wooten, Kuntz, Robert Alford, the quarterback who's putting up 15 a game. Russell County, we'll be there tomorrow for when they take on Central, 16-9. They've been a pleasant surprise. You know, Ronnie Battlesheim always plays hard. Tough loss last week at home against Hardaway. They definitely want to upset Central. That will give them momentum. Be their last game of the regular season heading into the area tournament. And then the Shaw Raiders, who got a huge win against Bainbridge with a buzzer beater. Shaw and
Magic
Hardaway,
Hickson.
They're going to vie for that 3-4, and who knows what happens in the region tournament, because I don't think that means Bainbridge will probably get left out. But Bainbridge, Shaw, Hardaway, Cairo, and Westover, all 5 teams are very similar, man. And who knows what's going to happen after that region tournament. But those are the 4 teams that could be 6-9.
Yeah, Shaw beat Bainbridge in double overtime. Magic Hickson, who didn't get a whole lot of playing time. But one thing about Shaw is getting healthy at the right time. Dorian Head, we saw him in that Harris County game. Magic Hickson getting a big bucket. You also have Josiah Williams. You have Trey Atkins. They've got a very deep team, a senior-led team. Coach Dickey and Coach Horton doing an outstanding job. I think that that is going to be a fun game Friday night.
And I got to add this in there. Curtis Crowell said Hardaway beat Shaw without their head coach, and he was right. Coach Dickey was not there when they played in the Christmas tournament. They did beat them in a very close game in overtime. We can't wait for it. We're going to be there. So, Coach Crowell, we're going to be there at Hardaway when your Lady Raiders take on the Lady Hawks, and then the boys game. That's going to be huge to decide who may get left out of the playoffs, seeding. So you don't want to miss out on that one. Hardaway and Shaw, Columbus and Russell County, I think, again, they're all so interchangeable. That's why I know you see them right now. You're thinking Hardaway 6, Columbus 7, Russell County 8, Shaw 9. No, we just put them up there like that. They're interchangeable. You can even rate them yourself, but I think those are 6-9 and the best teams in our area. For number 5, I'm sorry, Richard, do you want to add anything else about Russell County or Columbus before we move on?
Just that I got to see Columbus go up against Carver. I'm very impressed with Columbus, especially the shooting of Robert Hartford. Russell County, we get an opportunity to see them tomorrow taking on Central. It's Tim Littleton, the third, going up against Jacoby Hill. I mean, they got to face each other in the CB Hoops Perfect Practice Fall League. I think that right now, Russell County is a playoff team. They were able to beat Park Crossing. They were able to beat Pike Road. I mean, so they're going to be a playoff team. And so I'm looking forward to seeing them tomorrow.
Yeah, I can't wait for it either. It's going to be a lot of fun. Number 5, the Gators. They had a tough week last week, Richard. They lost on the road to Springwood, and then they lost at home to Lee Scott. They're the number 4 team in their region. They're going to have to upset someone. They don't want to be the 4 seed heading into the playoffs. They're going to play the number 1 team in the state, Bessemer, if that happens. So that means they got to beat Macon East. If they don't beat Macon East, Richard, they're not even going to make the playoffs. They'll be done, which is unbelievable if you say that about a state championship winning team. So they beat Macon East on Wednesday. Thursday, they'll play Springwood. If they upset Springwood, they'll play the winner of Lee Scott, Valiant Cross. Now, they have a chance to beat all 3 of those teams, Lee Scott, Valiant Cross, and Springwood. I think Glenwood has just as good a chance. And I know they lost Levi Pender for the season. The Gators, Coming at number 5, I think if they can get back on the way they were last year and start hitting some shots, especially around the rim, expect the Glenwood Gators to maybe not make another playoff run. But this is going to be big in this region tournament. They need to come at least the 3 seed. They don't want to be the 4th. They come at number 5, 19-9. Their best player, Swag, a freshman, Jadarian Holloway. He's been playing excellent basketball as of late.
And Glenwood also has size down low with Tyler Sykes and Mason McCrane. I just saw just a Glenwood team that came out in that first half. They had a big lead against Lee Scott, and it was really the post play of Mason McCrane. And Lamont Burton, he was inserted into the starting lineup. He was physical down low, and sometimes you got to be physical with these teams, but Lee Scott is just Hayden Harper. I mean, what can you say? He is an outstanding player that can create a shot. He could run up and down the court. He's got a great layup. I just think that Lee Scott was a tough matchup.
It was. They were up by double digits, though, and they were winning at halftime. They just couldn't hit any shots on the stretch. And remember, this is a ratings poll, everyone. When we do these ratings, it's off of talent, your schedule, and in your league, how good of a chance do you have to win it all? That's why Glenwood's number 5, because they have a better chance, in my opinion, than Hardaway, Columbus, Russell County, or Shaw does to win the entire thing, to win a state championship. Head-to-head, I'm willing to put Hardaway, Russell County, and Shaw to beat Glenwood, and probably even Columbus High. It would be competitive, but I would probably take those teams, but that's not how we do this. We don't do it head-to-head. Moving on from number 4, the Spencer Green Waves, 17-2. They have been on an absolute tear, Richard, haven't they? They have been playing some really good basketball. And it wasn't too long ago that we did the Spencer Carver game that was just an excellent championship in the Christmas tournament. Remember, both teams coming in undefeated. Since then, Spencer did lose to Cairo by 1 at Cairo, and Cairo's a good team. They beat Jordan only by 2. That was really competitive, Richard. You told me that we should have went to that game, and now I wish we would have, because the girls' game was competitive. So was the boys. They only won that by 2. They got at Southwest. That's another team undefeated in their region. Then they got Northeast, Southwest at home, Central, and Ace. If they can win 4 of the 5, they will be at least tied for first place. They'll give them 21 wins on the season. They're ranked in the top 10 in most polls around the state, and they're in 2A. I think Coach Quintavious Allen has a team that could win it all this year. They come in at 17-2. That game against Jordan, though, I mean, I know they don't need to take people for granted. You go on the road, you take on that Southwest Patriots team. You play like you did against Jordan, you're probably going to lose. And I know Coach Allen has got them boys prepared for that matchup. They come in at number 4.
Yeah, and I did talk to Coach Allen. I was actually at the Jordan Spencer game for the girls, and I was thinking about just it's a rivalry game. Jordan's playing at home. They did have some injuries, and it was just a close game just because, this is a big game for Jordan. And what the legendary coach Turner has done, I mean, he's building a program that's trying to get back to their days when they won a state championship in 2007. And when you're playing a rivalry, it was a very close contested game. But Coach Allen's going to have them ready. They do play Southwest on Tuesday in Macon. And then the rare Monday game taking on Southwest once again. And that
we'll be that one. We'll be at that one, Richard, when it's at home.
And they're both undefeated, by the way. So
in region play. This Spencer team, looking at their roster, everyone knew about Gary Gaither. They thought he was going to be the leading scorer this year, but their best player has been Keyshawn Sampton.
Oh, absolutely.
He was a guy that put on a show at the Christmas tournament. He's their leading scorer at 14.2. He's been phenomenal. Joe Dozier got his 1,000 point. Shout out to him. But Shireen Cobb and everyone at Jordan, the coaches there with their limited resources, I commend them. And I think just same with Coach Jenkins, Coach Turner, Coach Cobb, they are really investing in those kids, and that should never go unnoticed. Number 3, the Carver Tigers. They lost to Daugherty on the road. They lost to Monroe. They still have to play Daugherty at home and go on the road to Monroe. We're going to learn more about Carver then. If they can at least win one of those games, Carver could make it to an Elite 8 or if they can get hot, make a playoff run. If they go 0-2, against them. That means they would be 0-4 against Monroe and Daugherty. They would be the number 3 seed. It's going to be hard for me to see Carver make it out of maybe the second round, because the first round, they're going to be on the road. They want to be at least a 2 seed. So they're going to have to beat Daugherty, and they're going to have to hope Daugherty maybe gets upset or whatever, because they'll be tied. Then I don't know how they do the tiebreakers when it comes to that. But the Carver Tigers, they did beat Columbus in a very competitive game, and Columbus is a much improved team. That's not like it just getting a Columbus win in the past. But the Carver Tigers, who were undefeated and had a lot of people talking maybe state championship, I wasn't ready to go there yet, just based on who they played. And it's not their fault. They beat who was in front of them. But they lost to Daugherty by 3 on the road. I think that's going to be a win. They can beat Chris, beat Thomasville, and they can beat Monroe. Then I'm putting them right back in that category, winning it all. But they still have Sandy Creek in 3A. That is one of the main reasons. I've seen Sandy Creek in person. They're loaded. Okay, and they got one thing that Carver doesn't have, which is a guy that's 6'11", Micah Smith, who literally can put everyone on a poster, can shoot from mid-range, and he was a matchup problem for a team in Pacelli that's got some size more than Carver does. And that's why I'm not ready to buy in yet when it comes to winning a state. I will say Coach Pembroke has got the best out of what he's done with this program that is young. Remember, their best player is only a junior. A lot of their guys like Jacoby Castlin, a sophomore, Champ Simpson, sophomore. Calm down, everyone. Don't freak out because they started losing. I know they were undefeated, but it was going to be a stretch for them to win it all this year anyway. 17-2, they come in at number 3.
The last time that Carver faced a player that was going to eventually play in the NBA, it was in the Final Four against Woodward Academy back in 2019. Walker Kessler was on that team. I mean, that does not intimidate them. They could face a 6'11" player that's NBA ready. This team is just got a lot of depth. I've been impressed with Ace Thomas, who's a freshman, and you talked about Kobe Castlin, Champ Simpson, Tobias Tolbert, who's getting close to 3.4 blocks a game. I mean, they've got defenders, and they got the all-around scorer that could just do it all. He's got a mid-range jumper, and I'm talking about Tony Montgomery. I think what Coach Pembroke, what Coach Allen, what Coach White, I mean, they got an incredible coaching staff at the school on the hill. And I tell you what, Thrift, I always enjoy going there to live stream their games. I was there last Friday. We were there the Friday before calling the Monroe game. Such passionate fans. Art Thomason does a great job PA announcing. And I believe this Carver Tigers team is going to compete for the region and make a deep state playoff run.
Yeah, back then we got a comment from Coach Crowell, the A.J. Watts poster dunk back then.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when the boys and girls won state, by the way.
Oh, yeah. A great moment. Coach Warren Beulah and Coach Anson Hundley, a special moment in Macon that they get to take with them for the rest of their lives.
And Coach Beulah went off in the sunset after winning that state championship. Number 2, the Central Red Devils. They says 26-5. They were actually 25-6 this year. 5-1 in region play. Their only loss in the area was to Auburn in double overtime. Since then, they have routed off double-digit wins, scoring over 70 points in every single game. And they take on Russell County to go to hopefully 26. They did play Fairfield 2 days ago. So maybe they are 26-6. That score's not up on Max Preps. Either way.
I went on the AHSAA website. According to that website, that game was postponed.
Okay, so either way, Central now with Bryce Dawson, with our guy Jacoby Hill, they're not the favorite because Hoover and Huntsville are. Huntsville's only got 1 loss this whole season. That's who they lost to last year in the state championship. But they're one of the top 3. I think they're going to win the area. And if they get hot enough, they can beat anyone. Now, they did play Huntsville earlier this year, and lost at Huntsville by 1. So on a neutral court, they probably could win that game. Central could be cutting down the nets this year. Coach Burkett, and remember, they return a majority of their players. They'll be a favorite again next year. Central comes in at number 2.
Can't wait to see Central tomorrow on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. This is a rivalry game between Central and Russell County. It's going to be senior night for the Russell County Warriors. I mean, this it's not a foregone conclusion that Central can win this game. Russell County has beaten Central twice in the last 2 years, every time they play at Russell County. And so Russell County is going to be up for this game.
I can't wait to be there. The atmosphere is going to be electric tomorrow night, Russell County and Central. Number 1, the St. Anne Pacelli Vikings. Now, I know you see they did lose last week, but I want everyone to understand this. They lost. And honestly, we probably could switch them. You could probably put Central number 1. I mean, they're Central's loaded. Reason we got Pacelli number 1, I think they played the toughest schedule out of anyone around here, hands down. All right. And the reason why I have them number 1 is how deep this Central team is. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, not this Central team, this Pacelli team is. They have been playing without their best player in Jaden Ford, who puts up 20 a game these last several games. And they have won every single one of them except for Heritage. They have beat Douglas County without Jadens. They have beat Westfield. They have beat Brookstone. And they lost to Heritage by 1 and then dominated St. Mary's. This is only going to get the other guys like TJ Smith, like AZ Justy, Makai Williams, Matthew Melvin, Deuce Moore, all the other guys, Michael Rowe, a freshman. It's only going to get them better. So now they're not going to be so relied upon, the Smiths or especially the Jaden Fords. I know they lost to Heritage, but when you lose to Jaden Ford, he plays in that game, they probably win by 15. They do play them again this upcoming week. They play Strong Rock, who's ranked in the GIAA. They're 16-3. They're going to dominate them. They're going to want revenge against Heritage. That's 2 top 5 wins this week. They're going to play Greater Atlanta Christian. That's a 6A school that's ranked in the top 10 at Phillips Arena. They win that and they win the rest of their games. I mean, you're talking about one of the hardest schedules. You play Christian Heritage. You play Sandy Creek, Newton, Baldwin. I mean, these are elite teams, Richard. Lee County, not Westover. Warner Robins, Tift County, Daughtery. I mean, come on, man. Coach Black's not scared to play anyone, and that's why they come in at number 1 in our rankings. But again, I would have no problem if you put Central, but those 2 teams are in a class of their own compared to everybody else, and they are the favorite to win it all in the GIAA. Coach Black, unbelievable job. Coach Pembroke, unbelievable job with Carver. But what Corey's done at Pacelli to literally take over a program that was horrific, went 0 for, didn't win a game his first season, to now being the number 1 team in our area, that is a unbelievable story. And I'm glad we've been able to cover a lot of the games. We'll be there Friday when they take on Heritage. Pacelli comes in at number 1.
And one of the reasons why they are at number 1 is because one of our criteria is pathway to the state championship. And I think Pacelli does have the best pathway. I think that Stratford Academy might be the roadblock, but I don't know if they changed it where Heritage. Remember last year, Heritage was in 3A, Pacelli was in 4A, even though they were still in the same region. Did they switch it up? Do they have to face Heritage in the GIAA championship?
No. Heritage is in 3A, so Heritage is the favorite to win all in 3A. Remember, Pacelli's 4A, but they play in the same region though. So the region they throw classification out. So they'll face each other in the region championship, but not for a state championship. But these are our rankings, and I'm going to give a shout-out to Jonathan Gordon of the Calvary Christian Knights. They just beat Southland. I don't know if they'll beat Rook Creekside on Friday, but they beat Southland again. They'll be 10-14, and they could make it to a Final Four this year. I think they got a just good a chance as anyone else to make it. Valor is a good team, and Creekside obviously the favorite to win it all. But they can make a Final Four state championship. That would be an incredible feat for Calvary. They're right outside the top 10 looking in. Any other comments, Richard?
Yeah, they also beat Konos Academy on the road. And so looking forward to that game against Creekside. And then senior night, they're taking on Southland Academy out of Americas.
Oh, Valor doesn't have a team this year. So sorry about that, John. I just looked at last year's the Final Four last year, saw Valor made it, and I was assuming that just like Creekside, they're going to make it again. So throw Valor out. Calvary's got a good chance, just anyone, to play against Creekside in the state championship. Their senior night will be again on Creekside on Friday.
Oh, okay.
But we won't be there for that one. We will be there on Saturday, though, Jonathan, for Southland. So we're ready for that. I know that's the actual senior night's on Friday, but the last time the seniors will play a regular season game at Calvary will be on Saturday. We will be there for that one. Jeremy Hayes says the banger game of Pacelli Central is a game we need, but the game we won't get. And I know how you feel. I would love to see that. I would set it up. If they both win state, maybe we can set that up to see who would be the best in the Tri-City area. A border war showdown of all, and we'll host it. We'll do it. Okay, we'll broadcast a game. We'll find a place that we can play. Maybe Columbus State. I know Jay Sparks would love to have us there. We'll broadcast a game, sell it out. Everybody would come out, have a good time. Heck, why not even have a Tri-City tournament? Maybe throw Carver in there and Spencer, have the 4 teams. Glenwood too. Throw private schools, 6 teams in there. And let's have a tournament. That'd be pretty fun. Well, we've had a lot of fun on this show. If you missed any of the rankings, just go back and look. We'll also upload them to our Facebook page here and just probably right after this show. Richard, you want to throw up the graphic? Because tomorrow we're going to be there. Georgia, Alabama Sports Live, Russell County, and Central. You don't want to miss out. YouTube channel and Facebook page, GAS Live. Broadcast page is the Facebook page name. We also, on Wednesday, we'll have another show. We'll talk NFL and college basketball with our college basketball analyst, Jonathan Shusky Buckets. He works for ESPN. And then we'll also have Bobby Z, the former broadcaster in this area, one of a legendary sportscaster. Talk NFL with him. Then Thursday, we got CVCC doubleheader against Coastal North. Friday, Hardaway Shaw, Pacelli Heritage. Saturday, Calvary versus Southland. And then on Sunday, we got high school baseball right around the corner, and we're doing a media day. We're going to have all the teams around the area going to be there. Carver, Jordan, Pacelli, Harris County, Central, Shaw, Kendrick, Spencer, Columbus, Brookstone, Russell County, Northside, Glenwood, Hardaway, Smith Station, Calvary. We're going to hit them all from starting at 2, just like basketball, and around 6. And we're going to have the Pacelli Coaches Show right after that, and then another Georgia, Alabama Sports Live show right after that. So all day, we'll be going from 2 o'clock to 8:30. So make sure to tune in. Then we'll drop again our weekly ratings poll, just like we did tonight. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and we hope you have a great rest of your night. I will drop the broadcast schedule here in just a moment so you can see what games you'll be watching this week on Georgia, Alabama Sports Live. Have a great night.